Good evening, everyone. We will start with the recognition portion of the council tonight. I have 4 different recognitions tonight. One of them is not here, so we'll postpone that for next week. The top of the list is our own Terri Shatter. And pretty much everyone on this council, I know a lot of people in Sunnyvale knows Terri as a friend and also as the area manager for the Oncor. Anytime we needed help, anytime town needs help, there's a power outage, line broken, trees down, whatever. Terri was always a call away. She always responded to our call. I know she represented many, many cities, not just Sunnyvale only. But Sunnyvale was special for her, and she has done a phenomenal job as the Oncor representative. In addition to that one, she also served on a 4A. She was a FORA chairwoman, I should say, maybe, or chairperson. She served the 4B. She's been the chairperson for Chamber for many, many years and still the chairperson. So the first recognition is for Terri Shatter, but we are specifically recognizing her for service and dedication to the town as the town's representative with the Oncor. Council, anyone has anything to say?
I'd just like to echo the same words that Mayor echoed, Terri, how much you've been to this town and you've always been there for our whatever we needed. Thank you so much for your service and enjoy retirement.
Terri, I echo the same. I don't know, I feel like we got kind of a close connection just because of some similarities in background. And I put you through the ringer on a few occasions. But that's what our responsibility is in order to make sure that things happen for the benefit of the town. And you always went above and beyond. Thank you. And Brad, as I said earlier when we met, you got some big shoes to fill. I'm sure you'll be able to do it at some point in time in the future. You got us here to help you, and we're more than happy. I hope you've moved to Sunnyvale so you have the same expertise that Terri has. But Terri, again, thank you.
Mr. Clark.
Terri, just want to say thank you very much for your service to the town. It's been great to work with you, and you've been phenomenal. And just repeating what Councilmember Egan said, Brad, you have some big shoes to fill, but we have her mobile number. We can just call her anytime, I think. So, thanks.
Mr. Elliott.
I'm gonna miss you, Terri. Let's keep it short and sweet. I know we'll still have you around. We'll still rely on you for your, for your expertise, for your advice and your counsel, and you're a great citizen of Sunnyvale. Always good having you around.
Mr. Freeman.
And I always appreciate anybody that can wear as many hats as you've worn for the number of years that you've done it. Having to work with people like this, you deserve all the recognition in the world.
You mean people like Egan, right?
Yes.
Good. Next, I want to recognize the 100 Women of Sunnyvale for the support and dedication of the town of Sunnyvale and its citizens. This group of women, it's amazing what they do. Anyone, any genuine case, anyone approach them with a need, they're always willing, always ready to write their own checks. That's an amazing feat. People can talk, right? People can do, but you all pay from your pocket, right? Specifically, I want to mention one thing too about in front of everybody. For year or 2 years maybe, we've been talking about starting a community emergency response team, CERT. And we talked about it. Again, COVID was not the best time to get training done, bringing people together. When we met with the Kaufman County CERT leadership team, they said they have some initial investment. They approached these women. They wrote them a check for $13,000 from their pocket. Amazing. That was the seed money. That's the seed money they use for buying equipments. And we have started the CERT. We still need more people to volunteer. I know at least somebody volunteer for the classes. I know that. We need more volunteers. We want you to come and serve and participate in the CERT. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. And you are 4 of you just representatives. I know there are other women out there. I want every one of you to know that we appreciate you. Councilman?
Yeah, I remember when I heard that this was being formed, and I just thought of how phenomenal of an idea this was. Get a lot of women from Sunnyvale together. They go and meet 2-3 times a year. They make personal donations, and the fact that you have so many people, it adds up. I believe it's over $100,000 worth of money donated to Sunnyvale specific projects in the area. And it's absolutely amazing the work y'all do. And we as a town absolutely appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, I'd like to tag on. I worked with the Booster Club in Sunnyvale for a few years, and I knew how generous the people in our community were. What makes it work is when people want to put their time and energy into it to make it collective. To you women and to Carmen for the beginning of the organization, wish we could mold all of our people to be like the leaders of this group and to be successful. That y'all have been with 100 women Sunnyvale. It's great. It's phenomenal. Thank y'all so much for pulling our community together.
Yeah, I'll jump on that. It's a great point it brings up about leadership, right? We need leadership in communities. You guys offer phenomenal leadership. You provide direction, you provide community, which is a big piece. I mean, I have trouble getting my kids, like leading them to the car for school, and you guys get over 100 women together, put together these functions every quarter. It's impressive, and it's a great value to this community.
Sprout?
I just want to add that you all are awesome. So thank you very much. It's really great. And I don't have anything phenomenal to say like these guys, but it's just really good. So you guys have had such a big impact over the last few years, and so thank you very much for all your work. And it's really amazing. So thank you.
See you again.
And I don't want to say anything to the downside of that, because every one of the comments were exact and true. As somebody that out of this family, I believe about $300 per meeting comes out of this family. I think that it's important that the work that you do and the way that you do it and the way you go about doing it just exemplifies where Sunnyvale is today and where it's going to tomorrow. I believe, if I understand what my wife told me correctly, it was started here, and there's only one other chapter. Is that correct? Ah, there are? Okay. It's still an awesome thing to have spearheaded because being the small community that we are, Lake Highlands probably got a lot more people and a lot more money to deal with. We've got fewer people, but to have spearheaded to such a level that it's not 100 women from what I understand either. It's like 160. That's pretty awesome. And I think there's still people knocking on the door wanting to get in. So good job, ladies, and keep it up. Thank you.
Everybody come on, our numbers are growing.
Mayor and Council, I'd just like to make the last presentation. I've been here 2.5 months and tried not to get anything too messed up, but one of the things I have noticed that you have an exceptional staff working here, and it's just been a pleasure to work with each and every one of them. They've really given, I think they've given above and beyond in each and every day. And the days I've come in and noticed their hard work and their diligence it's just been tremendous. So you've got a great staff, and I've really appreciated working with them this time. But there's one person in particular that that I have just, it seems like from day one, I singled out and was watching this person work. And it just always amazed me how much they got done on a day-to-day basis without complaining and just continued to do their job. And I'm giving the first city manager's award to this person. I'd like to ask Lyle Jenkins. Yeah, that's right. I added another.
That was good. Council, we have one more award to be given out tonight. That is for, we plan to give out, recognizing Daniel Steele and his company for their 50th year of operation. They couldn't make it tonight, so we are going to postpone that until the meeting on January 24th. With that, we are going to adjourn. Yeah, we'll take a 3-minute break and we'll start at 7 o'clock sharp. Good evening, Council. Would you please join me in standing for the invocation? Tonight's invocation will be given by Councilmember Clark.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that we could gather here as a council today, to take care of town business. We ask for your guidance and wisdom that we can make good decisions for the town. We can listen, make great choices for the future. We ask for your blessings on all the people of the town. We ask for health and safety of our citizens. Again, we thank you for all your blessings. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Now time is 7:02. Let me call to order the regular town council meeting of Town of Sunnyvale. For the record, we have all council members except Councilmember Finch are present. With the 6 of the 7 council members present, we have quorum, and that time is 7:02. First item is announcement. I have a couple of announcements I want to make. Staff development is always a priority for a good organization. So we bring people with different skills, different experience, but continuously building them and allowing them to grow, not only develop them as people, as individuals, their skills and knowledge, but also helps town by they bringing in that knowledge and experience to run the town. So I'm a big proponent of education. I'm a big proponent of experience. So one thing this council supported, I want to thank everybody for that. And they had no problem in investing in our staff. But on the flip side, council can invest. There should be someone who wants to be invested in. Somebody wants to take that opportunity and learn and grow. So tonight, I want to congratulate 2 different people. I want to congratulate our Director of Administration and Town Secretary, Ms. Rachel Ramsey, and also Director of Economic Development, Burton Bard. Both graduated with their Masters in Public Administration just recently. I just want to say congratulations, Rachel and Burton. Good job.
I'd like to add that I'm really shocked by both of those. So thank you.
I also want to recognize one of our council colleagues, Mr. Jonathan Freeman. He graduated with his master's in accounting this year. He had a full-time job, full-time council position. He's very invested in his family, and he saw his wife earlier today. She's busy on her own life and her own job. Even with that, Jonathan took it as a priority and he worked hard. And it was not easy, but he graduated with his master's. I want to congratulate Mr. Freeman on his master's in accounting. Good job.
And for that one, I'm really shocked.
It's not accountability anywhere, right?
That makes 2 of us.
All right. Are there any, council, do you have any announcements? Staff? Mr.
Mayor, can I add one? I sent all of you an email, but I'd just like to introduce you right now tonight to Daniel Crawford. Daniel's our interim finance director. And Daniel and I have worked together in Tyler for 25 plus years, almost 30. And Daniel was the finance director before he came to Tyler. So he brings a wealth of knowledge with him. And you know, I've had a couple of conversations today and on some issues. And so I really am glad that he's here to help us in the interim until we can find the permanent finance director. So he'll help fill a slot. Phyllis she can handle this all by herself. But she's really welcomed having an extra hand around with him. So anyway, Daniel Crawford you'll be seeing him over the next month or so. At least.
Yeah, Mr. Crawford, we welcome you. Sunnyvale, thanks for being here. Yeah. Any other announcements? Okay, I'm moving on to the public comments. I know we have at least one gentleman. We got Mr. Brett Franks. He called me and said he would like to speak to us during the public comments. Is he on the call? Mr. Franks.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'm definitely here. There's a bit of a lag, so bear with me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. I've spoken to you, several of you on the phone, but wanted to introduce myself formally. I'm a city councilman in the city of Saxe, and I'm a finalist for the Dallas County Appraisal District. Member cities or suburban cities. And I just wanted to introduce myself, answer any questions, give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been complaining about DCAD and property taxes, as many of your residents, I'm sure, for the last 10 years, trying to get an understanding of the appraisal process and why I'm getting maxed out every year at the 10% maximum, it seems like. So I'm the type of person, excuse my voice, I'm the type of person who, if I have a problem with something, I ask a lot of questions, annoy people, and get involved. So that's what I'm doing. I don't intend or I have an understanding of not overhauling the system, but getting a better understanding of how the system works and maybe develop a relationship with your city and explain how the process affects your city as well as affects mine.
Mr. Franks, first of all, I want to thank you for your service as a council member. City of Saxe, I used to work in Wiley, and it's a neighboring city. Second,
Yes, sir.
appreciate you reaching out to us. It's one thing is completing, and again, first of all, you are willing to go serve, take on additional responsibility as the DCAD board member, and also you're reaching out and introducing yourself. We appreciate you for taking that extra step.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Yes, sir. Can't be any question for Mr. Franks. This is not really a back and forth session. So, Mr. Franks, you're welcome to stay on the call. Otherwise, we appreciate you calling in. And if I don't talk to you, have a good evening.
Thank you, Council and Mayor.
Yes. Okay, if there's anyone else who would like to come forward from the audience to speak to the council, you may do so on any items other than personal or legal matters, items on the agenda. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the chamber. Erica, anyone raised their hands?
No, sir.
No hands raised, so I'm going to close the public comment. Moving on to consent agenda items, we have 4 items on the consent agenda, item number 5, 6, 7, and 8. Council, would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Okay, if not, can I have a motion with respect on consent agenda items 5, 6, 7, and 8?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Egan, second by Eldridge to approve consent agenda item 5, 6, 7, and 8. All in favor, signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Finch is absent. We are moving on to public hearing items. We have two items. Item number 9, hold a public hearing and act upon ordinance 2022-01, granting a special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit on the property zone single family SF1 located generally at 231 East Fork Road. Charles, how are you, sir? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's fine. There we go. The property at 231 East Fork Road is requesting approval of a special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit. The subject property is just shy of 5 acres in the zone single family 1. The applicant is proposing to construct a 4,087 square foot accessory dwelling unit at the rear of the property behind the principal structure. The ADU complies with all of the requirements for accessory dwelling units that are listed in the UDO. The applicant presented their case to the Planning and Zoning Commission in December, and they recommend approval unanimously. I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Council, I'm going to open up for public comment. Before that, is the applicant here? Would you like to come forward and speak to the council? Okay, we may come get back to you, but thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to open up for public comments. If there's anyone from the members of the audience who would like to speak to the council on item number 9, you may come forward. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the chamber. Erica, anyone raise their hands?
No, sir.
No hands raised. So I'm going to close the public comments, public hearing. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant or for staff? Oh, they came all the way. Should ask them some questions.
I do have one question. So permit for an accessory dwelling unit. What is the intention of the accessory dwelling unit? Is this going to be like a secondary house behind their house, a garage? What are we hearing here?
So, yes, so it's a secondary home that a member of the family would live in, and there's also a garage associated with that.
Got it.
And that is completely acceptable within the UDA process.
Yes.
And
Okay.
there's not a way that the land can be subdivided due to its width, so that can be sold off as a separate parcel.
Correct, and that's right, and the UDO would prohibit that.
I'm going to ask a question it's tied to this, but it's also ancillary because it's something that I saw on the Facebook this week. Would they be able to rent that at any point in the future?
No, sir.
Are you allowed to rent any house behind your house in the city of Sunnyvale?
Unless there's some unusual grandfathered circumstance I'm not aware of, any accessory dwelling unit has to be occupied by a member of the family and can't be rented out separate from that.
Excellent. Thank you. Legally.
Mr. Clark, do you have a comment, sir, or question?
So yes, my question is regarding the construction materials, and do the siding, does it have to be the same as the house?
So there is a requirement in the UDO that says it does have to share the same materials as the house. The way that's been interpreted in the past is it doesn't have to be exclusively the same materials as the house, as long as there's the same mix of materials. You can introduce other materials as well. And so for this project, the principal structure is brick with a shingled roof. And so they're doing kind of a base band of brick. Then there would be siding above that and then shingles. So with the way that the ordinance has been interpreted in the past, that meets the intent of the UDO.
Right, okay. But I thought there was a state law that trumped that said they could build out of any material as long as it passed the standard.
So the way that the state law applies is, you're right, we cannot specify what materials they use. However, again, the way we've interpreted and enforced the ordinance of the past is the requirement is that they have to match the principal structure. We don't say what material that is. And so we're not dictating a material, we're saying it has to match.
Right, so complementary.
Yes. Right. So there's some flexibility there.
Okay, thank you. And one other question, does it matter what type of SF it is? Is that's? if you're
No,
building an accessory building-
only to the extent that it has to be on at least 2 acres or more. So you can be in any district as long as you're on a property that's 2 acres or more. Some districts allow for lot sizes less than 2 acres, so that just by nature of the lot size in those districts, we preclude that. But that's more of a lot size issue than what zoning district you're in issue.
Okay, thank you.
Additional question for the applicant or for staff? Okay, there are none. I call for a motion, item number 9.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Egan, second by Mr. Clark to approve item number 9 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Finch is absent. Thanks for being here tonight. I gave a chance to speak. You chose not to, but. All right.
Don't feel like you guys have to stick around.
Item number 10, hold a public hearing and consider action on ordinance 2022-02 to amend the town's annual budget for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2022, to provide funding for lapsed appropriations and mid-year expenses related to the fire department, engineering, and public works. While our staff is coming forward, I think this requires 2 readings. Am I right, Rachel? So this will be the first reading, and once we approve, it'll come back to the council on January 24th for the second reading. So you have you get 2 bites on this at this. Okay, with that,
It'll be me.
oh, it's gonna be you.
It will be. I may phone a friend back there if you have any hard questions for me. But
Good evening, Josh.
good evening again, Mayor and Council. As you all are aware, the town adopted the fiscal year 2022 budget in September. And since that time, we've had a few things that have come up that warrant us to amend the budget. First, you may recall that back in October, we had a conversation where the council approved adding 3 firefighter paramedic positions. 2 of those were funded in the budget, but we talked about that third position would have to be appropriated during this amendment process. Then last month, we had a work session where we discussed a number of mid-year priorities related to engineering and public works, an assistant town engineer, and then some equipment and professional services for public works. And so based on council's directions, those have been included in these amendments as well. And those are the mid-year amendments in the middle column on that slide. And then lastly, the budget amendment addresses the lapsed appropriations related to projects that for various reasons are being carried forward from the prior year's budget. And so that those funds need to be reappropriated this year. And these are fairly routine items like contracts or capital projects. Just by nature of what they are, they don't align perfectly with your fiscal year. They carry over from year to year to year. And so once we go through and figure out how much is outstanding in those contracts or in those projects, we reallocate those and roll those forward into the current fiscal year. So those 3 things combined are what make up this budget amendment. There's a summary here on this slide. If you have any questions about what's specifically in any of the funds, we can go through those. But we'll leave it here since we talked about this in December. And then lastly, because I know it's of interest, this leaves the general fund with 144 days of operating days, which is 24 above what the town likes to keep in reserve. So we're in good shape there and have some flexibility if we want to look at other things at some point later in the year. So again, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Council, I'm going to open up for public comments first, then I'll come back to you for questions. Okay, this time I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience like to speak to the council on item number 10, you may come forward. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the chamber. Eric, anyone raising their hands? No hands raised. So I'm going to close the public comments. Council, question for staff. Charles, I have a couple of questions first. So we talked about many, there are some which was easy to approve, and there are questions about public works. There are few options. We asked you to go look into it. Do you have a breakdown of it on what you want to recommend, or what? How did you approach that?
Sure. So in conversations with the town manager, we really focused on those things that we knew we could use 100% with the current staffing available. And that was basically everything on the list. The one thing that we took off the list was a $7,000 valve exerciser. That's the thing that we talked about, how we should proactively be going out and exercising the valves so that when we need to close them, we know where they are and that they're exercised and we close easily. But that is frankly something that we are going to need more staffing to utilize that piece of equipment to its fullest extent. So everything else we kept on the list because we do feel confident that we can use each of those things. But we took off the valve exerciser, and we may bring that forward at some time in the future when we also have the conversation about staff.
There was one item which is more of a safety issue. Brian said something about going into the ditch and just not quite safe. Did we include that item?
Yes, sir.
I don't specifically remember what that is, but I remember there's a safety. Okay. Council, and we also upped the budget for the engineer, right? That
Yes.
okay. I noticed that one. So Lyle, you think that money is good enough to get a qualified person?
Yes, I do.
Not fresh graduate, right? Somebody who can come in and do some real job for you, right? Really help. Okay. Finally, you got a lot of projects on your hand. I want to make sure that you can be successful.
Mayor, could I just
Yes, sir.
interject, please? If in fact it is not, I would like to reserve an opportunity to come back to you all and ask you for some more money. We desperately need another engineer in town. We're growing and we want to grow a certain way. And we recognize that, but we just have to have somebody to help Lyle. And if in fact we can't get that person at what we call at an entry level, then I would like to reserve a right to come back. And it would not be an exorbitant amount, but it would just be an amount that would bring somebody to Sunnyvale. It's going to take the right person. And We don't want to just hire, I don't think you want just anybody on your staff. You want the right person on your staff that will help Lyle and add support to the.
Yeah,
to the
Mr. Manager, I'll give you my thoughts and the council can chime in. If staff, you and Lyle want to go hire that person at the right price and then come back and say, you know what? In other words, don't come back, wait for approval, then go back. By the time, I know engineers are hard to find. I got 6 vacancies right now. I can't find people, and when I get somebody, I pick them up right away. That's just me, right? So my thought would be to go hire the person, then come back and ask for budget adjustment. Council, are you okay with that approach? Instead of coming back and then going back.
If there's a trust level with the fact that we'll
Yes, sir.
do the right thing, I'd appreciate you all allowing us to do that.
So go make the right hire, then come back and ask for money if you need it. Fair enough? Charles, anything else on this one, sir?
No, sir.
Council, any question for staff? Bob, you think we got everything you need?
Yes, sir. Yeah, in fact, to reiterate what Charles mentioned, one of the things that I heard you all say is, let's don't just go buy to be buying if it's not going to be used right away. We eliminated anything that would need another person. Not to say we won't need another person, but that we'll talk to you all about that in budget time, not now. The stuff we're getting right now can not only be used by one department, it can be used by multiple departments. The Parks Department can utilize it, Public Works can utilize it, the chipper. It's a great time. We've got I hate to think we're having another bad year coming on us, but it's some of the things I've read and heard is a good possibility we will. And if we have another snow-mageddon, like everybody wants to call it, from like we did last year, there'll be a lot of limbs on the ground. We do not want Sunnyvale to look bad. It's too pretty of a town.
Perfect. And I'm good with Mr. Allen.
Digress from the budget just momentarily. Where would we store chipped material? And do we have a process for distribution?
So we have a fairly large yard behind the Public Works and Parks building that we could pilot up there. If we got enough of a supply that we felt like we could share it with the public, we'd probably just advertise it on Facebook and other social media sites and things, and schedule pickup times and things like that.
One other thing I remember, again, if you need to come back with a more adjustment, let's do it. I remember JD talking to us about community involvement, quarterly, movie show, that type of thing. So there are other expenses. Let's keep moving. We got to we are coming off the whole COVID. Hopefully we have more opportunity to bring the community together, and we talked about amphitheater, that type of thing. So there are other projects that just bring forward, okay? We want to make this town the best town as possible. Council, additional questions or comments? Okay, if there are none, I call for a motion, right, number 10.
I'll make a motion to adopt item 10 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Eldridge to approve agenda item number 10. I'm sorry. To approve item number 10 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Motion passed. Council, again, this is the first hearing. We will be back on the agenda on the week of January 24th. Moving on to discussion action item, consider an action on resolution 2022-03 to elect a representative to the board of directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District. I think that's going to be Ms. Ramsey, I believe. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we brought this to you for the first initial vote, and of course, they have to have a majority of the votes. And so that runoff election is going to be between Michael Hurt, who is currently on the board now, and Mr. Brett Franks, who you heard from earlier. In front of you, you have a letter from Mr. Franks, if you wanted to take a second to read that. And then you also have both bios from the first election, if you wanted to read over those as well.
Okay, I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience like to speak to the council on item number 11, you may come forward. If you're joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public. I'm sorry. Eric, anyone raising their hands?
No, sir.
No hands raised. I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, you heard from Mr. Franks. We discussed the resume last time. Do you have any comments or discussions on item number 11?
Mayor, as I recall, last time we unanimously elected Mr. Hurt.
Mhm.
Since then, we've had a chance to go into runoff and get to know a couple of these people a little bit better. I believe Mr. Franks reached out to several people. I actually did speak with him. It was a good conversation. Find out that he's active in our community here in Sunnyvale. So I don't think he's a total stranger to Sunnyvale at all. He works for Dr. Bonzell's office as a physician assistant, so he's been around for a while. Just a conversation with him and not hearing from the other candidate, I'll tell you that it swayed my position as to where I think I would like to vote on this time around.
I'll tell you, and I also had a conversation with the Honorable Mr. Franks. This board is set up to basically help out some of the smaller towns with the DCAD process. And you have Dallas, which is a major part, but this is meant for the suburban areas to kind of have a voice. And talking with him, he was, some of the people that are on this group, it's like the Garlands. Well, Garland has 250,000 people. Mesquite is also one of these. They have up 200,000 people. He comes from Saxe, which is 25,000 people, actually a smaller town. I think gives us a better voice. Or at least he'll be able to represent us better than someone else. And I agree. Anybody who's willing to step up, pick up the phone, make some calls, I think, that goes a long way in my book as well.
Mr. Clark?
Right, I agree with council members Allen and Freeman. I also got a chance to speak with him, and the thing that made me the most excited was that he communicated with us. We haven't heard from the other person. At least I have not heard from the other person. And Honorable Member Franks is going to focus on, based on what he's saying, he's going to focus on promoting transparency, increasing the amount of education and information that we get. And right now, we don't get anything. And so it would be nice to have somebody that we can communicate with on that board so that we can get some more information. Because right now it's a big black box and I don't know what goes on. I'm not sure if anybody knows what goes on, but to have that type of resource, I think would be good for all of us and good for the town. So I agree with both of you. I will be changing my vote to Council Member Franks.
Okay. Additional comments or discussions? Mr. Egan?
I'm just going to comment that I was the one that said last time that experience matters, and I still believe experience matters. However, I think initiative is equally as important. And Mr. Franks took the initiative he didn't contact me, but he took the initiative. I've got 2 letters here on the desk from him. We've not heard anything from the other guy. Maybe he's just as good. I don't agree that that we're going to get a whole lot more information out of DCAT. I think that what happens there is done in a public forum, and that if you want to know more about what happens inside of DCAT, go to the meetings. They got to have them. I don't know that they do, but you look at it in this chambers here, there's never anybody in any of our meetings either, and you get complaints from people because they don't know what's going on. So, and that's not the first time that has ever been said before, either here or anywhere else. So I'm going to change my vote on the basis of initiative. And initiative to me means more than experience at this stage of the game. Had we heard something from the other candidate, that might have been different depending on what was said, but that's my 2 cents.
Mr. Freeman?
I was just going to make a motion.
Not yet. Okay. Mr. Eldridge, anything? Okay. Yeah, again, Mr. Franks, I want to appreciate you calling in. You heard comments. We appreciate you wanting to serve and willing to serve, and obviously you're serving in Saxe. With that, I call for a motion.
Make a motion to vote for Mr. Franks, or to put Mr. Franks forth as our elected official for DCAT. So,
Okay, motion made by Mr. Freeman, second by Mr. Allen to elect Mr. Brett Franks to the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. Motion passed 6-0. Mr. Finch is absent. Mr. Franks, if you're still on the call, congratulations. At least we thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
council.
It's okay. I mean, we vote to our conscience, right? That's all you can, that's all. It's a matter of the end. Okay, moving on to the last item on the agenda. That's the mayor and council request for future staff updates and agenda items. Council. Okay, there are none.
Mayor,
Mr. Egan.
I'm gonna dig up something real old skeleton. Actually, maybe a couple of them. Fire hydrant exercise or fire hydrant maintenance. You know, we had an issue about 3 or 4 years ago where we found out that a fire hydrant didn't open and there was a house fire. And we then got on a wild rampant program to have public works go around and maintenance all the fire or a good portion of fire hydrants. And I don't know that we ever saw any kind of a planned program for that continuing to happen as we go into the future. And maybe it's happening. And I'm not trying to question staff's and the department's ability to be able to get things done, but I just want to make sure that the process is moving forward and has gotten implemented, because that kind of brings up the second one that I'm going to bring up that's an even older skeleton, and that is money that's owed the town by a previous employee of the town who controlled money. And where do we stand with that? Because the last that I heard, it was at a very low, low tens of thousands of dollars as opposed to the higher numbers of tens of thousands of dollars. And that's just something that it doesn't show up on any of the stuff that we have as a balance due that I remember having seen. So anyway, just that might be a retreat answer more than it is anything, but I think it's important that we bring it out as to where that amount of money is.
So again, thank you, Mr. Egan. The good point. So Mr. Manager, if you can look into it, chances are most of the staff is new. You don't need an answer right now. Just kind of look into it and get back. Would that be okay, Mr. Egan? Council, anything else? Okay, if there is none, I call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Freeman, second by Mr. Clark to adjourn. All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Meeting is adjourned. Now time is 7:34. Staff, thank you very much. Council.